Imagine an organization that doesn't just chase profits, but, genuinely tries to be a force for good. Is that just a nice idea, or is it actually becoming a real blueprint for business, especially finance?
It feels like we're moving in that direction, doesn't it? It's certainly a hot topic.
Absolutely. Today, we're doing a deep dive into this whole fascinating, sometimes tricky world of ethics and the organization.
Yeah, and it's so much more than just avoiding scandals or ticking boxes. It's really about the moral core, the compass that guides decisions, shapes the whole vibe of a
The
place.
culture.
Exactly, the culture. And increasingly, it's what defines real long-term success.
Totally agree. So our mission today is to kind of cut through the jargon, pull out the key insights from the material we've looked at, and help you understand not just what ethical frameworks are, but why they matter so much now.
Hmm.
We'll unpack some foundational ideas, look at how culture really works, the seen and unseen parts, touch on global differences, and then really zoom in on ESG, environmental, social, governance,
Yeah.
especially how it's playing out in banking.
Right. Think of this as maybe a shortcut, a way to grasp how ethics are getting baked right into the business model itself.
You should leave with a much clearer picture of what this means for the future, and maybe even, for you personally.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. When we talk about ethics in organizations, what are we actually fundamentally defining?
Well, at its heart, it's the moral principles, the values that guide how people behave and make decisions within that company. It's not just one thing, though.
No, it's got layers.
Exactly. It starts with those core values, things like honesty, integrity, fairness. These are meant to be the guiding stars.
And they usually write them down somewhere, right? Like a formal code of conduct.
Yes, that's a key component. A document outlining specific standards everyone's expected to meet. But crucially, it's leadership that makes it real.
The tone at the top.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Leaders don't just say what's right, they have to show it. Their actions speak volumes.
You can't just bolt ethics on at the end of a decision.
No way. It needs to be woven into the decision-making process itself. And then there's the overall culture fostering an environment where people feel, well, safe and empowered to make the right call.
Plus training, right? Giving people the
It's
tools.
training, education, yeah. And accountability, making sure people are actually responsible for their ethical conduct.
Okay, so that's what it is. But why does it matter so much? What's the real tangible benefit for a company beyond just, doing good?
Oh, the impact is massive and very real. First off, trust. It builds trust with everyone, customers, employees, investors, the whole lot.
And that trust, presumably, boosts morale inside the company.
Definitely enhances morale and engagement, creates a better place to work, but also, crucially, it mitigates risk. Think legal trouble, financial hits, reputational damage.
Which can be absolutely devastating.
Totally. Good ethics helps avoid that. And it's not just about avoiding the bad stuff. Ethical companies tend to attract and keep the best people.
Right. Top talent wants to work somewhere they feel good about.
Exactly. So, add it all up, and it contributes to genuine long-term success. A sustainable business model, really. It's not fluff, it's smart strategy.
It really is. Now, our sources mentioned a model to help gauge where a company is on this ethical journey, Reidenbach and Robbins' moral maturity model.
That's right. It gives us 5 stages, like levels of ethical development.
Stage 1, the lowest level, is the amoral organization. Basically, profit is king and ethics. Well, they're not really on the radar.
Pretty much. Then stage 2 is the legalistic organization. Here, the focus is just on sticking to the rules, the policies, the laws. It's more about not getting caught, you could say.
Less about the spirit, more about the letter of the law.
Precisely. Moving up, stage 3 is the responsive organization. Here you start seeing an attempt to balance profits and ethics. It's a step up.
Okay.
Stage 4, the emerging ethical organization, shows a much stronger commitment. Moral values are becoming more central.
And the top. Stage 5.
That's the ethical organization. Here, ethical behavior isn't just encouraged, it's fundamental, it's part of the company's DNA.
Let's make this concrete. Think about Prosper Bank from our sources. Imagine they're under huge pressure for profits.
Okay.
So maybe they start pushing high-fee, risky products, setting really aggressive sales targets, maybe even cutting customer service to save costs. If you're a senior banker there, you'd be worried, right?
You'd be deeply concerned. Mis-selling, vulnerable customers getting hurt financially.
Yeah.
That Prosper Bank, in that scenario, sounds like it's sitting squarely in that legalistic with bits of immoral space.
They might be following the rules, technically.
But not the spirit. The ethical risks are huge. Mis-selling lawsuits, crazy levels of employee stress, trust completely evaporating, and regulators breathing down their necks.
It's a ticking time bomb, really. Not just compliance risk, but eroding the very foundation of the bank.
Absolutely. It's a slow-motion ethical car crash.
So as that concerned senior banker, how do you even start to push back against that?
It's tough. You'd need to clearly voice those concerns to management, but not just complain, offer alternative, more ethical ways forward.
Strengthen numbers, maybe.
Definitely. Gather support from colleagues who feel the same way, build a coalition, and yeah, escalate it if you have to, through the proper channels.
And for the bank to really change.
It needs leadership to walk the talk, visibly. Open dialogue, no fear of speaking up, proper ethics training, real whistleblower protection, and a commitment to actually reviewing and fixing policies.
It's a really interesting exercise for you, listening. Think about the organizations you deal with, your bank, your employer, companies you buy from. Where might they sit on that spectrum? It makes you look differently.
It really does.
Now let's talk about that unseen hand organizational culture. It guides so much, doesn't it? How do we define it simply?
The simplest way is just the way things are done around here. It's the shared norms, the beliefs, the behaviors, some obvious, some hidden, that shape how people interact and make decisions.
And Schein's model is great for unpacking this. He talks about 3 levels, right? Starting with artifacts.
Yeah, artifacts are the visible stuff. Logos, office layout, uniforms, those ethical slogans you might see on the wall, what you can see and touch.
Okay, level 2.
Espoused values. These are the things the company says it believes in. The mission statement, talking about integrity. The official rules of conduct.
But the real clincher is level 3, isn't it? Underlying assumptions.
That's where the truth often lies. These are the deep-seated, often unconscious beliefs, the unwritten rules that really drive behavior.
So the bank might have posters about integrity,
Yeah.
artifacts, and mission statement about it, espoused values.
But if the underlying assumption is that you must hit your aggressive sales target no matter what, even if it means bending the rules, then that's the real culture.
Which raises that huge question. How do you spot the real culture when what's said and what's done don't match up?
It's a massive challenge. And that's where other models help, like Charles Handy's, which connects culture type to the organization's structure.
Right, he had 4 types. Power culture, think fast-moving startups, maybe some fintechs. Centralized control, quick decisions, often driven by one strong leader.
Yeah, decisions are fast, but the risk is unchecked power. Then there's role culture, very common in big traditional banks. Clear hierarchy, focus on rules, compliance, risk management, very stable, sometimes slow.
Got it. Then task culture.
Project-based. Think innovation hubs or digital banking project teams. People come together for specific tasks, valuing expertise and speed.
And the last one?
Person culture. This emphasizes individual experts and their relationships. Private banking is a classic example where one advisor manages a client's whole world. High autonomy.
The Zenith Bank case study showed these clashing, didn't it? The CEO making big calls without consulting risk. That's power culture.
Definitely. And the compliance team being super rigid, sometimes hindering things, that's role culture in action.
While the star trader bending rules for a big deal, that sounds like task culture's results focus.
And the wealth manager juggling personal ties and potential conflicts. Classic person culture dilemma. Each culture type brings its own ethical hotspots.
It really does. Okay, another model. Deal and Kennedy. They look at culture based on risk and feedback speed.
Exactly. 2 dimensions. How risky are the typical decisions, and how quickly do you know if they worked out?
So, work hard, play hard is low risk, fast feedback. Like retail bank branches or call centers. Lots of activity, quick results, daily targets.
That's the one. But the Horizon Bank example showed the dark side potential for mis-selling, ignoring long-term customer needs, focusing only on quick wins. Ethical pitfalls there.
Well, what else?
Process culture. Low risk, slow feedback. Think back office operations, compliance departments maybe, emphasis on procedure, stability, getting it right over time.
Then the exciting one. Tough guy, macho. High risk, fast feedback.
Trading floors, investment banking, very individualistic, competitive, high stakes, quick results or failures, big risks, big rewards, potentially big ethical lapses too.
And finally, bet your company.
High risk, slow feedback. Major strategic moves, big mergers, acquisitions, launching a whole new division. Huge long-term impact requires incredibly careful planning.
It's amazing how these models help dissect the internal dynamics. And Balogun and Hope Haley's model adds another layer, looking at how cultures change, right? Especially in banking.
Yes, they outline 4 types of cultural change. First is adaptation, small tweaks, basically reinforcing the existing culture, making minor adjustments.
Like fine-tuning.
Exactly. Then, evolution. This is more significant. The culture adapts to changes in the environment, core values stay, but other aspects evolve around them.
Then the bigger shifts.
Reconstruction. This is a major transformation. Redefining core values, changing how things are fundamentally done, often happens after a crisis.
And most extreme.
Revolution. Basically tearing down the old culture and building a completely new one. You might see this in toxic situations or after a really problematic merger where the old ways just have to go.
That Zenith Islamic Bank example fits evolution perfectly, doesn't it? They needed digital transformation, but had to preserve their core Sharia values.
Precisely. Service delivery mindset had to change drastically, but the ethical and spiritual foundation remained the absolute priority. It wasn't a revolution, but a deep, guided evolution.
It just shows how layered culture is. It makes you think, how do these dynamics play out where you work or in companies you know? What kind of change have you seen?
It's a great reflection point, and it highlights the complexity balancing all these internal dynamics with external pressures and stakeholders.
Which leads us perfectly to beyond the walls, stakeholders, and global ethics. Let's start simply. Who counts as a stakeholder?
Broadly, a stakeholder is any person or group who can affect the organization or who is affected by it. It's a two-way street.
So employees are internal stakeholders.
Right. Customers, suppliers, shareholders are often called connected stakeholders. And then you have external ones. The local community, regulators, environmental groups, the media.
And they all want different things, right? They have claims on the organization.
Exactly. Different needs, different priorities. And these often conflict. Shareholders might want maximum profit, while employees want job security and the community wants minimal environmental impact.
So the organization has to juggle these, prioritize, find consensus.
Constantly. You can't please everyone all the time. And stakeholders matter hugely. Some control cash flows, some hold legal power, others influence reputation. And ethically, there's a strong argument for considering all legitimate interests.
Mendelow's power interest matrix helps sort this out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Plotting stakeholders based on their power and interest.
It's a really useful tool. High power, high interest folks are your key players. You need to actively engage them.
High power, low interest.
Keep satisfied.
Yeah.
Make sure they don't become unhappy and use their power against you.
Low power, high interest.
Keep informed. They care, but can't impact you much directly yet. Good communication is key.
And low power, low interest.
Minimal effort. Monitor them, but don't invest huge resources. In that ABC Inc. environmental protest case, the community and regulators suddenly become key players, demanding attention. Shareholders might be more keep satisfied. It shows how dynamic stakeholder positions can be.
Now, shifting focus slightly, how do organizations relate to society overall? There are different theories, like consensus theory.
Yeah, certain March's consensus theory sees organizations as coalitions, lots of different individuals and groups inside, each with their own goals. Decisions are basically the result of bargaining and compromise among them.
Okay, and how does that differ from social contract theory?
Social contract theory takes a broader view. It suggests there's an unspoken agreement between business and society. Society grants businesses the right to operate, and in return, businesses have obligations to benefit society. It's about moral legitimacy.
Let's use that branch closure example. How would each theory view it?
Consensus theory would focus on the internal tug-of-war. Shareholders pushing for cost cuts, employees fighting for jobs, maybe local managers arguing to keep it open. The decision is the outcome of that internal negotiation.
Whereas social contract theory would ask bigger questions.
Right. Does closing this branch uphold public trust? Does it unfairly harm the community? Does it balance profit with social responsibility? It's about the bank's duties to society, not just internal pressures.
That brings in the whole international dimension, too. How do cultural differences play into ethics globally? Aoshi's Theory Z comes up here.
Theory Z is interesting. It's a hybrid, blending Japanese and American management ideas. It stresses a strong culture, trust, collaboration, employee well-being. It assumes people want more than just a paycheck. They want purpose, growth, to see the big picture.
And the benefits for a bank?
Potentially huge. Better morale, lower turnover, more innovation, stronger reputation. Happier, more engaged employees often lead to better results.
Then there's Hofstede's model, the 6 cultural dimensions. This feels crucial for global banks.
Absolutely. It helps dissect how cultures differ. You've got power distance, how much inequality is accepted, individualism versus collectivism, masculinity versus femininity, achievement focus versus caring focus, uncertainty avoidance, how comfortable people are with ambiguity, long-term versus short-term orientation, and indulgence versus restraint.
Wow, okay. How might these play out in banking ethics?
Think about high power distance. Maybe junior staff are afraid to report ethical concerns about seniors. High individualism could drive risky behavior to meet personal sales targets, ignoring team or customer needs. High uncertainty avoidance might lead to rigid rules that stifle ethical judgment in complex
The
situations.
global bank merger case, Eurofin and Asia Wealth, must have hit these walls hard.
Imagine the clashes. Low power distance Europeans, perhaps frustrated by the hierarchical Asians, individualist Westerners clashing with collectivist Eastern approaches to teamwork and rewards, different views on work life balance stemming from masculinity femininity scores.
It leads to massive misunderstandings, friction, demotivation.
If not managed very carefully, yes. It shows ethical principles might be universal, but how they're applied and understood varies hugely across cultures.
Okay, so we've covered principles, culture, stakeholders, global factors. Now let's look at the strategic choices organizations make. How do they choose to be ethical?
It absolutely has to start with the tone at the top. We mentioned it before, but it's worth repeating. Leaders set the standard. Their actions, their decisions signal what truly
It's
matters.
more than just policy documents.
Much more. Strong ethical leadership shapes the culture, encourages people to speak up, builds trust, and ultimately protects the organization by embedding integrity. It's the foundation.
And Johnson, Scholes, and Whittington give us 4 ethical stances to understand the strategic approach.
That's right, a framework for how companies position themselves ethically.
The first stance is pretty basic: short-term shareholder interest.
Yeah.
Profit now is the only real goal.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Then slightly more evolved is long-term shareholder interest. Profit is still number one, but they'll accept other responsibilities if it boosts shareholder value down the line. Some call it enlightened self-interest.
Okay, what's next?
Multiple stakeholder obligations. Here, the company actively considers the needs of various stakeholders, employees, customers, community, recognizing this is vital for long-term financial health. Enlightened shareholder value is another term used here.
So looking beyond just the shareholders.
Yes. And the final stance is shaper of society. These organizations are driven by a mission beyond profit. They actively try to contribute to societal well-being, going well beyond the minimum requirements.
The MoneyWise Bank example showed these in action, investing heavily in cybersecurity and green tech, even if it hit short-term profit. That sounds like long-term shareholder interest.
Definitely. Investing in future resilience and value.
And their strategy of really engaging with customers, responsible lending, environmental commitments.
That fits squarely into multiple stakeholder obligations, balancing different interests for sustainable success.
But when they actively work on financial literacy programs or poverty alleviation, making it a core part of their strategy.
That's moving into shaper of society territory. They see themselves as having a broader role and responsibility.
We can also look at this through Carroll's CSR pyramid, right? 4 levels of responsibility.
Yep. The base is economic responsibility. You have to be profitable to survive.
Makes sense.
Above that, legal responsibility, obey the laws. Then ethical responsibility, do what's right, fair, and just, even if the law doesn't require it.
Man, top.
Philanthropic responsibility, be a good corporate citizen, contribute resources to the community, improve quality of life. Banks can use this to see how their profit motives fit with wider responsibilities.
So how do banks actually embed this stuff, make it real day to day?
Practical steps are key. A clear code of ethics, leaders consistently setting the example. Strong whistleblowing channels people trust. Ongoing training, and this is important, actually rewarding ethical behavior, not just financial results.
And there's a difference between what you must do and what's good to do. Obligatory versus supererogatory.
Exactly. Obligatory actions are the must-dos, compliance with regulations, honoring contracts. Failing here is wrong.
Supererogatory actions are.
Going above and beyond. Things that are morally good but not strictly required, like investing heavily in community projects, adopting super high environmental standards, or choosing ethical lending practices that might be less profitable but better for customers. It shows a deeper commitment.
It's a great question for you listening. What stance does your company take? Does it go beyond just the obligatory? It really reveals their true character.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's shift gears now to where this really hits the ground running today, the rise of ESG and sustainable banking. First off, what exactly is ESG?
Right. ESG stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance. They're criteria used to evaluate how sustainable and ethical a company is, looking beyond just the financials.
So environmentalists.
How the company impacts the planet. Resource use, waste, pollution, carbon footprint, that sort of thing.
Social.
How it treats people,
No.
labor practices, human rights in the supply chain, diversity and inclusion, community impact, data privacy,
And governance?
how the company is run, board structure, executive pay, shareholder rights, bribery and corruption controls, transparency.
And the key takeaway is that ESG isn't just about being nice, right? It's about long-term value.
Exactly. It's about managing risks and spotting opportunities in a world facing huge environmental and social challenges. It's becoming fundamental to long-term business resilience and value creation.
Our sources tracked its history from basic EHS, environment, health, safety, decades ago,
Through CSR, corporate social responsibility, and general sustainability talk.
to this much more integrated, measurable ESG framework we have now.
And three big drivers pushed it mainstream: regulation governments tackling climate change, inequality, transparency investors, and the public demanding to know more. And materiality, the growing evidence that ESG factors directly impact financial risk and return.
Okay, so people talk about sustainable investing. Are there different types?
Yes, several flavors. SRI, or socially responsible investing, is often about screening, avoiding sin stocks like tobacco or weapons.
Impact investing.
That's more proactive. The main goal is to generate positive, measurable social and environmental impact alongside a financial return.
And things like green bonds.
Those are specific debt instruments where the money raised must go to certified green projects, renewable energy, clean transport, etc.
You also mentioned a key difference in loans.
Yeah.
Sustainability-linked loans, SLLs, versus green loans.
Right. This is important. With a green loan, the money must fund a specific green project. With an SLL, the company can use the money for general purposes, but the interest rate they pay goes up or down depending on whether they hit pre-agreed ESG targets. It incentivizes overall improvement.
Interesting distinction. All this ties into the bigger idea of sustainable development, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Meeting today's needs without messing things up for future generations. The UN's 2030 Agenda and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, are the global blueprint here.
And banks are aligning with these SDGs.
Increasingly, yes. Plus, major agreements like the Paris Agreement on climate change. Malaysia, for example, has its own commitments to cut emissions. Finance is critical to achieving all this.
Okay, but it's not all smooth sailing. What are the ethical pitfalls within the ESG movement itself? This is where it gets tricky.
Very tricky. Number one is probably greenwashing, making things sound way more eco-friendly than they actually are. Misleading marketing, basically.
Like slapping a green label on something made in a polluting factory.
Exactly. And similarly, there's social washing, exaggerating positive social impact or covering up negative stuff.
What else?
Big challenges around data, lack of transparency and data integrity. Is the ESG data companies report accurate, complete, comparable? Often, not really.
And the ratings agencies themselves.
Yeah. Potential conflict of interest. If an agency rates a company and sells them consulting services to improve their rating, well, you see the problem.
Mm-hmm. And older ethical issues don't just disappear, do they?
Unfortunately not. Exploitation of labor, human rights abuses in supply chains, unethical conduct, corruption, bribery. These can all undermine genuine ESG efforts.
Plus the big systemic issues.
Yeah.
Actual environmental damage, foot dragging on climate change, persistent inequality, and lack of diversity. Our sources also noted the political debates around ESG in banking. Some see it as mission creep, others as essential. It's definitely not a settled issue.
No, it's complex and contested.
So given all those challenges, how can banks genuinely be part of the solution? What's their positive role?
They have immense leverage through finance. Green financing is huge, funding renewables, efficiency projects. They can also choose not to fund harmful activities, like restricting finance for coal mines.
What about their own operations?
Reducing their own carbon footprint, absolutely. Championing financial inclusion, banking the unbanked, supporting social enterprises, promoting internal diversity, having strong governance.
Engaging with shareholders on these topics.
Critical, those responsible banking pillars we mentioned. Environmental sustainability, social responsibility, governance, fighting money laundering, promoting sustainability. Overall, they cover the key areas.
You mentioned something interesting earlier, value-based intermediation, or VBI, from Islamic banking.
Yes, VBI is a framework designed to ensure Islamic finance creates positive, sustainable impacts, aligned with Sharia principles which inherently emphasize community well-being and ethical conduct. It goes beyond just avoiding prohibited activities.
So it aims for sustainable development, financial inclusion, ethical practices.
Builds trust, mitigates risk, yeah.
Oh,
And regulators like Malaysia's BNM are actively encouraging it.
it sounds like VBI, ESG, maybe a clear climate taxonomy that could all work together.
Absolutely. There are real synergies there for a comprehensive approach to sustainable finance.
And one more crucial concept, the just transition. What's that about?
It's about fairness. As we shift to a green economy, how do we make sure vulnerable workers and communities aren't left behind? Closing a coal mine might be good for the planet, but devastating for the mining town.
So the transition needs to be managed justly.
Exactly. Banks play a role here by funding retraining programs, investing in new industries in affected regions, integrating these social risks into their lending decisions, and advocating for policies that balance environmental goals with social equity.
Let's look at Maybank as a concrete example. Their purpose, humanizing financial services. Their M25 strategy sounds very ESG-focused.
It is. They have strong commitments. No deforestation, no new peat, no exploitation, the NDPE stance, no financing blacklisted activities. Critically, no financing new coal while helping existing clients transition.
And big targets.
Huge ones. Mobilizing RM50 billion in sustainable finance by 2025. Carbon neutral in their own operations by 2030. Net zero across the board by 2050. And a social goal, improving 1 million households across ASEAN by 2025.
They seem serious about being a regional ESG leader. And it makes you wonder, how can you tell genuine commitment from greenwashing? What stands out about Maybank's approach that feels solid?
It's the combination of clear policies, ambitious targets, specific timelines, and linking it back to their core purpose. That feels more substantial.
So we've covered a lot of ground, from ethical foundations and culture
To stakeholders, global differences, strategic choices.
and landing firmly in the crucial area of ESG and sustainable banking. It's clear ethics aren't just a nice-to-have anymore. They're central.
Central to long-term success, to societal impact, to trust. It's all interconnected.
Absolutely. Which leaves us with a final thought, really. As banks and financial institutions wield such enormous power to where they direct money, what responsibility do we have? As customers, as investors, maybe as employees? How much should we push for more ethical, more sustainable practices in banking? The decisions made in those boardrooms affect us all profoundly. Understanding these dynamics hopefully makes you a more informed voice in that conversation.